Hello, welcome back to Buckle Up. My name is Rob Wilson and this is the new Hyundai i10, and today I'm going to find out if it's the best city car on sale in the UK. Okay, so I'm going to start with the exterior, but first of all I just want to address the fact that the car's quite dirty. As you may be able to tell, this is sheet ice. We're filming this on a very cold day and we couldn't wash it because the hose pipe's frozen. So, sorry about that. Back to the car. It has some interesting LED daytime running lights. They look a little bit like a head torch though. I'm not totally convinced by it. Let's move down the side. There isn't really too much to talk about this. Sorry if I'm walking like I've crapped myself. There's just ice everywhere. I want to talk about these wheels. They're quite a nice design, 16 inches, and these are standard on the premium spec car, which this one is. I'll talk more about some details later on. Bit further down, let's talk about this i10 badge here on the rear quarter. So it's in the window design. It's just a nice little reminder it's an i10. It's quite a nice premium touch, isn't it? Also, just in case you forgot, between there and there, it reminds you again you've got an i10. And if you come round to the back, just in case you forgot, between there and then there, it reminds you again that you've got an i10. So you're never going to forget which car you've got, which is good. I'm going to open up the boot now. Again, apologies that this is absolutely filthy. And inside, you can see, once you lift up your own parcel shelf, because it's not on strings, that you have 252 litres, which is the same, actually no, 1 litre more than an Up, a Volkswagen. So you can get an extra carton of orange in there, which is good. So once you're actually inside the boot, you can see basically nothing because there's no tether hooks, no places to tie things down, and the boot floor, while you can lift it up and you can find your tyre inflation kit underneath, you can't raise it up. So when the rear seats are folded down, which is dead easy to do, it's just 2 levers from the back, you pop your parcel shelf out, there's a lip, so you can't push things all the way through. Although, to be fair, I can reach the front seats from here, so it's not exactly a massive distance. While there's nowhere to tether stuff, there are little hooks on either side here, so if you've got shopping bags, or I don't know, you just been to get a curry or something, you can hang that up there. It's not going to slosh around and fall over, which is good. But what I think I'll do now is I'll put the seats back in place, I'll go and sit in the back and see if all 6'2" of me can fit, because this is quite a small car. Okay, so now we're in the back seats of the i10, and this front seat is set up in my driver's position. As I've already mentioned, I am 6'2" or 188 centimetres, whichever takes your fancy. Surprisingly, given my height, I do actually fit in here. I would prefer to man spread, unfortunately, for my knees. I can squeeze them in if I absolutely had to, but I wouldn't want to do that for a very long time. In terms of headroom, I can sit up straight. My head does touch, but you never do actually sit up straight in a car, you more slouch. If you did have 3 people in the back, that might be a bit of a problem. As you can see, my leg is taking up quite a lot of space, but that's that. Things that are pretty good back here, this being a premium one, you get tinted glass, and I can roll that window all the way down. That's such a nice feature to see. Not every car does that. I've got a space down here for a bottle of water, the quite big door bins actually, and I do have Isofix, which are hidden behind little zips, which is a better way of doing it, because if you have those little clips that you have to take off, you just lose them, never find them ever again. There aren't really too many other features back here, so I'll hop in the front and we can see what the interior is like up there. Okay, so now we're in the front of the i10, and I think I'll start by talking about all of the technology that you've got up here, because we've got an 8-inch touchscreen in the centre, which has got your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Sticking with technology, let's stick with all of the safety systems that this car comes with as standard. You've got autonomous emergency braking, you have lane keep assist, which is as useless as it is in every other car, so you just, first thing you do when you get in is turn it off. You have the cruise control as standard as well. It's not adaptive, but it is a nice feature to have. There's so many toys on this. This is the premium spec. You can get SE Connect, which is the entry level, Premium, which is the mid-spec, this one, or N-Line, which is your sporty one. On this one, you get heated front seats, 3 stages on the both front seats, and a heated steering wheel. That is so posh on a car like this. I've only ever seen them on Volvos and Land Rovers and stuff like that. This is great to have on such a small car. Sticking with keeping yourself warm, there are some climate controls down in the centre with your standard heated front rear screen. It's actually physical controls as well, which is great to see. I really like the dials. It's not a digital screen, it's analog dials with a central screen in the middle of them, but they're really clear, easy to read. They've actually got a slight checkered flag sort of background on them as well, which is nice to see, I guess. It's a different sporty touch. They could have just been boring, but they're not. In terms of practicality, I've got space for a bottle of water again. I've got 2 cup holders in the center here, which that bottle of water fits in. I have a slot next to the manual handbrake, which is the perfect size for a Greggs sausage roll. And in the center, you can option this car with wireless charging. This one doesn't have it, but it is the perfect size for a phone, for it to connect up to your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Glove box, it's a decent size and it's not damped, but this is a cheap car, so, or a small, cheapish car. No cars are cheap really these days. And there's a nice little shelf above it as well, so if I wanted to, my passenger wanted to stick their phone in there, it can go in there and it's not going to fly out because it's got a little lip on it, which is great. But in terms of the front of the car, that's basically all there is to talk about. So I'll go for a nice little drive now. That'll be fun. See what it handles like in these icy conditions. Let's go. Okay, so now I'm driving the i10, and I guess I'll start by talking about the different engine options that you have available. So on the lower spec SE Connect car, you only get the option of the 1 litre naturally aspirated 3-cylinder unit, which produces 67 brake horsepower, which will probably feel quite slow in today's world. 0 to 60 is over 15 seconds. If you step up to the premium, this one, you have the option of that same 1 litre 3-cylinder naturally aspirated engine, or you can step up to this, which is a 1.2 naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine with 84 PS. So that's quite a bit of a step up over the smaller 1 litre unit, and that means you can do 0 to 60 in just over 12 seconds, which is more in line with other city cars, so it doesn't feel as sluggish and as slow as that one would do. Now you can, on the top spec car, the N-Line, get a 1 litre 3-cylinder with a turbo, and that has 100 horsepower, which is bordering on being quite sporty. It puts me more in mind of small sporty cars like the Fiat Panda 100 horsepower or the Up GTI, for example. But let's stick to this car for now. So I've got my heated steering wheel on, my heated seat on, because it is still freezing outside. I'm currently sitting now at 55 miles an hour in 5th gear, and we're doing 2,500 revs. And the engine is so quiet, it's very refined, there's no vibrations. I think that comes with it being a 4-cylinder rather than a 3-cylinder. 3-cylinder is always a little bit unbalanced, which is a great characteristic, but this feels a lot more grown up, especially compared to cars that I've been in, such as the Toyota Aygo X and the Volkswagen Up. This feels more refined engine-wise than those 2 cars. So let's talk about ride and handling. So from a ride perspective, this is actually very nice. It's quite comfortable, really. Even around town, it's not really crashy. There's no big thumps come through into the cabin and rattle things around. And handling wise, I'm on a country road now, and it's perfectly capable. It's not a sports car. It's not intended to be a sports car. It's got narrow, skinny tyres, which go against it. But it is worth mentioning that despite this being the new generation of i10, it's actually no bigger than the old car was. It's exactly the same length. So all they've actually done is to create the extra space in the cabin is push the wheels out further into the corners. So that actually helps with the handling, because it's more wheel in each corner. Now the gearbox probably deserves a special mention because it actually feels quite good, surprisingly good for a car of this size. And I also like how they've raised the gear stick itself up physically from out of the center console, because you often find in a lot of cars in this class you have to reach down to get the gear stick nicely raised up, and that means that it's no more than a hand's width away from the steering wheel, which is ideal, really. But yeah, it's got a nice positive action, doesn't feel notchy, you never struggle to find the gear. It's very smooth. I like that a lot. That deserves praise. Brakes wise, I would probably say that absolutely nothing wrong with them, but for my taste I would say they're a little bit bitey. There seems to be at the top of the brake pedal not too much happens, and then you get to a certain point and then all of the brakes happen, so it can be a little jerky to get used to. But once you've got used to it, absolutely fine, just something to be aware of. I do like the interior. I wouldn't necessarily spec it with a white panel on the dashboard. I'm sure you'll be able to get black or grey options. I feel like white, maybe if you had the car a long time and you were constantly like fiddling to go and turn the radio volume or something like that, it would discolour eventually, but it definitely adds more lightness to the cabin, which is a good thing. I just would maybe think long term what that would look like after if you don't clean your car very often, what that might look like. I like that they've bothered to actually include the screen in the dashboard design. It's not just stuck on there like you see in some other cars with like an iPad that's glued on there. They've shaped it around the dials and it continues on nicely. And that screen is very clear, it's very easy to use. You've got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is a good thing to have. Proper physical climate controls. These are all, just things that make life a bit easier. Do I have any complaints? Not really. The things that I've noticed in my time with the car is at night, I don't think the lights are particularly bright, and when they're on full beam as well. I think cars in this class have brighter lights than this, but other than that, it's very well made and put together. Like, there's no rattles, shakes, everything feels tight. It's great actually. And obviously, being a Hyundai, you have a 5-year warranty, which is it can't be underestimated, these things, especially when rivals like the Volkswagen Up still only come with 3 years. In terms of economy, this is actually reasonably good. The average that I'm getting on my dashboard at the minute is 44.1 miles to the gallon, but you have to remember this is a press car and it will have been driven by those pesky journalists who drive everywhere flat out. So in the real world, if you're driving it more normally, as I have been, you will end up getting 50-55 miles to the gallon, which is pretty good going. Steering feel is absolutely fine. There's no panicky moments where you don't know what the front wheels are doing, and all Hyundais actually seem to have really well weighted steering, but I'm not exactly going to be pushing the limits today when it's below 0, so I'll stick to my slightly sedated driving style today. Okay, so there you go. There's my driving impressions of the i10. I think what I'll do now is I'll pull over and do a bit of a conclusion for you. Okay then, so summing up the Hyundai i10. Is it the best in class? Well, I think it's better than the Toyota Aygo X, which I've driven extensively now. I had one as a hire car for a week. And I think in a lot of ways it's better than the Up. But there are certain things that the Up does better. But overall, this does more things better than the Up does better than it. So therefore it is best in class, because there aren't any other city cars now. So there you go. The buckle up seal of approval. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please go and give it a thumbs up and comment down below and let us know what you think about the i10 or its competitors. If you aren't already, then make sure to hit the big red subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. If you want to follow us in other fashions, we have social media linked down in the description. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so in one of 3 ways. That is, become a Patreon supporter, join as a member on YouTube, or you can get some lovely merch, which I'm not going to demonstrate for you because it's freezing cold. So I'll see you next time. Goodbye.